Well, hey everyone, once again, welcome to your weekly Life Group Leader training video. We are so excited as we continue our series in Genesis this week, looking at Genesis chapter 2. So with that in mind, if you haven't had a chance to go read Genesis chapter 2, spend some time with that text and with the Lord, I highly encourage you, as always, stop this video, go spend some time with that passage and with the Lord, and then you can return to this video and get ready to lead your group. But once again, Genesis chapter 2 is the text that we're looking at, and people have talked about Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 for a long time now, and we've asked the question, why do we need both? In both stories, we get a creation account, and in both stories, we get the creation of mankind. So why have Genesis 1 and why have Genesis 2? For some scholars, this is problematic. But for those who faithfully read Scripture and those who see what's actually happening here, we realize that Genesis 2 actually complements Genesis chapter 1 in the best kind of ways. Where in Genesis 1, we get this cosmic picture, this grandiose picture, and we get to zoom out and see God creating everything that exists, and He just speaks them into existence. We see His power, we see His majesty, we see His transcendence in Genesis chapter 1. But then in Genesis chapter 2, the author takes us and we get to zoom in and see an intimate encounter of the creation of mankind. We get to see God taking the soil, and you imagine the transcendent God who speaks stars into existence. He has soil in His hands and He's shaping and forming it into the image of mankind, and then He breathes life into it. And then He speaks to Adam in a close and personal way and tells Adam what he's created for and what he's supposed to do. And so we get this beautiful complement in these two stories, one of a transcendent big picture and one of a close encounter. And here's what else we get. In Genesis chapter 1, we get two big questions answered. Who is God and what does He do? Last week we looked at that God is this majestic, transcendent creator. And what He does is He orders chaos. He takes broken, mangled, messed up things and He puts them together, which is really the story of all of Scripture. In Genesis chapter 2, we're asking those same questions and we're getting those same answers, but it's no longer about the Lord, it's about humans. And so in Genesis 2, it complements Genesis chapter 1 because now we are asking and answering the question, who are we and what are we supposed to do? And Genesis 2 and the end of Genesis chapter 1 brilliantly proclaims the truth that we are created in God's image. And this truth answers both questions. It answers the question, who are we? It proclaims our worth and our value and our place in creation, that we are the only creatures in all of creation that are created in God's image, that we are special, that we are unique. But it also answers the question of what are we supposed to do? Because if we are created in God's image, then we are created to represent God to all of our fellow creatures. That we are created to be God's image, to be God's ambassadors, that all of creation would look to humans and they would know who God is, that they would know His character, they would know His love, His mercy, His justice, they would know His ability to order chaos, that they would see that they would experience that through humans. How humbling and yet how encouraging and uplifting that we're created from the dirt, from the dust, that we're given life from the Lord. But even though we're created from soil, we're created to do the work of the Lord and to represent His image on earth. What an incredible responsibility. What an honor, but what a challenge. And so that is what Genesis 2 proclaims. It's answering the types of questions that Genesis 1 is asking, but now it's answering them about humans. And its answer is that we are created in God's image, and we're created to be God's image. That the world would be able to look to humans and see who God is. And so from that, we have to ask, what does the world think of God based on my life? What does my life say about who God is. And so this week, we want you to emphasize that main idea, but we also want you to challenge your group to show the people in their life who God is with their lives. That the people in their life will be able to look to their life and they would know God's character. They would know His love, mercy, justice, peace, His goodness, His kindness, all of these things they would see in us. And so we want you to challenge your group this week. Challenge each of them to do one thing this week to show someone in their life who God is. Well, that is our main idea. That is our weekly challenge. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you soon.